Chapters 1 to 5. God raises a deliverer for his people. Chapter 1. The Israelites oppressed in Egypt. After the time of Joseph, the Israelites continued living in Egypt and became extremely numerous. They grew strong, prosperous, and spread throughout the land. But as years passed, a new Pharaoh came to power, one who did not know Joseph nor the great things he had done for Egypt. Seeing the Israelites increase in strength, Pharaoh feared they might rise up or join enemies against Egypt. Therefore he enslaved them, forcing them to build the cities of Pithom and Ramesses, making bricks, working the fields, and laboring cruelly under harsh whips. Yet the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied, causing even greater fear among the Egyptians. Pharaoh then issued a crueler decree. He commanded the Hebrew midwives to kill every newborn baby boy. However, they feared God and protected the children. Seeing his plan fail, Pharaoh grew furious and commanded all his people, open quote, every Hebrew baby boy must be thrown into the Nile, close quote. Darkness of persecution covered the land, but in that very moment, God was preparing his rescue. Chapter 2. The miraculous birth and preservation of Moses. In the midst of oppression, a baby boy was born into a Levite family. His mother recognized something special in him and hid him for 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she placed him in a small basket made of reeds and set it among the reeds by the Nile, entrusting him into the hands of God. Pharaoh's daughter discovered the child, felt compassion, and wanted to adopt him. The baby's sister, who had been watching from a distance, wisely offered to find someone to nurse the child, and this person was none other than his own mother. When he grew older, he was brought to the princess, and she named him Moses, meaning I drew him out of the water. When Moses became a man, he witnessed the suffering of his people, and in anger struck down an Egyptian who was beating a Hebrew. When the act was discovered, Moses fled to Midian. There he married Zipporah, daughter of Jethro, the priest of Midian, and became a shepherd. Meanwhile, the Israelites groaned under their slavery. God heard their cries, remembered his covenant, and looked upon his people with concern. The deliverer had grown, awaiting God's call. Chapter 3. God appears in the burning bush. One day as Moses was tending the flock near Mount Horeb, he saw a bush engulfed in flames, yet it did not burn. He approached, and from the fire the voice of God called, open quote, Moses, Moses, remove your sandals, for the place where you stand is holy ground. Close quote. God revealed that he had seen the misery of his people and would rescue them from Egypt to a good and spacious land. He commanded Moses, open quote, go to Pharaoh and bring my people out of Egypt, close quote. Moses trembled, open quote, who am I to accomplish such a great task, close quote. The Lord answered, open quote, I will be with you, close quote. The eternal God, the one who holds history, officially called Moses to return to Egypt. Chapter 4. Miraculous signs and the support of Aaron. Moses was afraid that the Israelites would not believe him. God gave him powerful signs. His staff turned into a serpent and back again. His hand turned leprous and was restored instantly. Water from the Nile would become blood on the ground. Still Moses hesitated, saying he was slow of speech. God patiently promised help and appointed Aaron as his spokesman. Returning to Egypt, Moses and Aaron met with the elders of the people, told them God's words, and performed the signs. The Israelites believed and bowed down in worship, hope being rekindled after long years of suffering. Chapter 5. The first confrontation with Pharaoh. Moses and Aaron entered Pharaoh's court and boldly delivered God's message. Open quote, let my people go so they may hold a festival to me in the wilderness, close quote. Pharaoh pridefully answered, open quote, who is the Lord that I should obey him? I do not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go, close quote. Instead of easing their burden, Pharaoh increased their suffering. No more straw for brick making, yet the same quota of bricks was demanded there. The overseers beat the Israelites harshly. The mounting misery caused the people to blame Moses and Aaron. Moses returned to God and cried, open quote, why have you allowed this trouble for your people? Ever since you sent me, the situation has only gotten worse, close quote. But he did not yet know that the greatest showdown in history was about to begin, and God would display his unmatched power before the world. Chapters 6 to 10. The God of power confronts the kingdom of Pharaoh. Chapter 6. God renews his promise to deliver Israel. Even though the people complained and Moses felt discouraged, God spoke, open quote, I am the Lord. I will free you from slavery with an outstretched arm and great judgments, close quote. He reminded them of his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Israel was his chosen people. But because of their long suffering, they struggled to believe rescue was truly coming. The Lord commanded Moses and Aaron to continue standing before Pharaoh, even when everything seemed impossible. Their genealogy was recorded. They were not just shepherds, but leaders chosen by God to transform history. The divine confrontation had officially begun. Chapter 7. The first sign, the Nile turns to blood. God declared, open quote, I have made you like God to Pharaoh, and Aaron will be your prophet. Close quote. They stood in the royal court of Egypt. When Aaron threw down his staff, it became a serpent. The Egyptian magicians imitated the sign, but Aaron's serpent swallowed theirs. Still, Pharaoh hardened his heart. Moses warned, open quote, let my people go. Close quote. Pharaoh refused. Aaron stretched his staff over the Nile. The waters turned to blood. Fish died, the river stank, and even wells were contaminated. But the magicians repeated the miracle, and Pharaoh's pride remained unmoved. Chapter 8. Frogs. Then dust becomes gnats covering the land. Again Moses proclaimed, open quote, let my people go, close quote. Pharaoh resisted. Frogs flooded the palaces, bedrooms, kitchens. The entire land cried out in disgust. Pharaoh pleaded with Moses to make the frogs stop. Yet once relief came, he hardened his heart again. Then came the third plague, dust turning into gnats that swarmed people and animals. The magicians failed to duplicate this sign and confessed, open quote, this is the finger of God, close quote. Still, Pharaoh refused. Chapter 9. Flies. Dead livestock. A devastating hailstorm. The warning did not change, open quote, let my people go, close quote. When Pharaoh declined, swarms of flies filled every Egyptian home, except Goshen, where Israel lived. Then disease struck Egypt's animals, horses, camels, cattle, all died, while Israel's livestock remained untouched. The sixth plague followed. Boils broke out painfully across people and animals. The magicians couldn't even stand before Moses. Finally, the most destructive hailstorm Egypt had ever seen fell from the sky. Crops, animals, and any people outside were crushed. Pharaoh cried, open quote, I have sinned. Pray for the storm to stop, close quote. But once it stopped, he hardened his heart again. Chapter 10. Locusts swarm Egypt. Darkness covers the nation. The eighth plague. Locusts like an army covered the land, devouring every remaining plant. The Egyptian officials begged Pharaoh, open quote, let them go. Egypt is ruined, close quote. Pharaoh allowed only the men to leave, an offer Moses rejected. Locusts swept through the land, erasing the last hope of harvest. Then came the ninth plague. Complete darkness for 3 days, a darkness so thick no one moved, but in Israel's homes there was still light. Pharaoh shouted, open quote, go, but leave your flocks behind, close quote. Moses answered, open quote, we must take everything to worship the Lord, close quote. Pharaoh exploded with rage, open quote, get out of my sight. If you see my face again, you will die, close quote. Moses replied calmly, open quote, you have spoken rightly. You will never see my face again, close quote. The final judgment was approaching, and deliverance was at the door. Chapters 11-15. The Passover and the God who splits the sea. Chapter 11. The final warning. The death of the firstborn God gave Moses one last message for Pharaoh, open quote, one more plague I will bring upon Egypt, then he will drive you out completely, close quote. At midnight, every firstborn in Egypt would die, from Pharaoh's own heir to the lowliest servant, even the firstborn of animals. A great cry would rise throughout Egypt like never before, but among the Israelites, not even a dog would growl against them. Moses left Pharaoh burning with anger. The countdown to the final plague had begun. Chapter 12. The Passover meal. Blood that saves God established a new beginning, the month of redemption. He instructed each family to choose a spotless lamb, keep it until the 14th day, then slaughter it at twilight. Its blood was to be placed on the doorposts of every Hebrew home. Its meat roasted and eaten with bitter herbs, dressed to leave quickly. God declared, open quote, when I see the blood, I will pass over you, close quote. At midnight, judgment fell. The firstborn of Egypt died in every household. A cry pierced the land. Pharaoh finally shouted, open quote, Up, leave my people, go worship the Lord as you have asked." Close quote. The Israelites departed, carrying gold, silver, and goods freely given by the Egyptians. After 430 years, God's people were free. The journey begins. God leads by pillar of cloud and fire. God reminded the people to remember Passover forever. The God who saves deserves honor in every generation. He led them toward the Red Sea, avoiding the path of war. Before them by day, a pillar of cloud. By night, a pillar of fire. God himself was their guide. Chapter 14. The Red Sea Miracle. God fights for Israel. Pharaoh's heart turned once more. He regretted letting the Israelites go. He summoned his army, chariots charging after the unarmed former slaves. Trapped between the sea and the Egyptian forces, the Israelites panicked. Open quote. "Why did you bring us here to die?" Close quote. Moses answered, open quote, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the salvation of the Lord." Close quote. The pillar of cloud moved behind Israel, blocking the Egyptian army. Then God told Moses, open quote, "Raise your staff over the sea." Close quote. A mighty wind blew. Waters split, forming two walls of water. Israel walked through the sea on dry ground. The Egyptians pursued, but God confused them. When Moses stretched out his hand again, the waters collapsed. The army drowned beneath the waves. Not one survived. Israel saw the power of God and finally believed. Chapter 15. The Song of Moses. Praise of a rescued people. On the far shore, the people lifted their voices. Open quote. "The Lord is my strength and my song. He has become my salvation." Close quote. Timbrels sounded, dances erupted. Miriam the prophetess led the women singing, open quote, "Sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. Horse and rider he has hurled into the sea." Close quote. From slaves to a free nation, Israel marched forward. Their God was not only a God of promise, but the God who delivers. Chapters 16 to 20. Bread from heaven and the covenant at the mountain of God. Chapter 16. Manna, bread from heaven. Not long after leaving Egypt, the people began to complain about food. Open quote. "We would rather have died in Egypt." Close quote. But God did not abandon them. He said, open quote, "I will rain bread from heaven for you." Close quote. In the morning, when the dew lifted, small white flakes lay on the ground like frost. The people asked, "Man who?" Meaning, what is this? So it was called manna, the bread from heaven. In the evening, quail flew into the camp so they could have meat to eat. God taught them to trust. Each day gather only enough for that day. On the sixth day, gather double for the Sabbath rest. Even in their doubts and worries, the bread from heaven came every single day, grace that never failed. Chapter 17. Water from the rock. And the first battle at Rephidim, the people were thirsty again, and they argued with Moses. Open quote, "Why did you bring us out here to die of thirst?" Close quote. God instructed Moses to take the very staff that had parted the sea and strike a rock. Water burst out, enough for all the people and their animals. Right after that, the first enemy appeared. The Amalekites attacked Israel. Joshua led the warriors in the valley. Moses stood on the hilltop with the staff raised to heaven. When his hands were lifted, Israel prevailed. When his hands fell, the enemy gained ground. Aaron and Hur stood beside him, holding up his hands until the victory was complete. God taught them this truth. Success does not come from human strength, but from the hand of the Lord. Chapter 18. Jethro's visit, a lesson in sharing the burden. Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, came to visit. He rejoiced when he heard all God had done and offered sacrifices of praise. Jethro noticed Moses judging every dispute from morning until evening. He wisely advised, open quote, "The work is too heavy for you alone. Choose capable men to help you." Close quote. Moses listened, establishing the first leadership structure in Israel, a powerful lesson in wisdom and teamwork. Chapter 19. Israel at Mount Sinai, a people belonging to God. 3 months after leaving Egypt, Israel arrived at Mount Sinai. God declared, open quote, "If you keep my covenant, you will be my treasured possession." Close quote. A holy covenant was about to be formed. The people prepared themselves, washed and set apart. The mountains shook with thunder, trumpet blasts, fire, and thick smoke like a furnace. The people trembled before the majesty of God. He was not only their rescuer, but now their holy king. Chapter 20. The 10 Commandments, God's holy law. Amid thunder and flames, God spoke the 10 Commandments. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make idols. Do not misuse the name of the Lord. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Honor your father and mother. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness. You shall not covet. Terrified, the people cried out, open quote, Moses, you speak to us, not God. Close quote. They had witnessed the power of the one who was now entering a covenant with them. A people rescued, now learning how to live in freedom and holiness. Chapters 21-25, Laws of Justice, Worship, and God's Holy Sanctuary. Chapter 21, Laws of Justice and Human Dignity. After giving the 10 Commandments, God continued teaching Israel how to live with righteousness and fairness. He gave laws concerning servants. They must be treated with dignity and given a chance for freedom. Protection for women and the vulnerable. Punishment that fits the crime. Not exceeding the offense. God declared an important principle of justice. Open quote, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Close quote. This was not about harsh revenge, but ensuring justice was fair and balanced. A people who once lived as slaves were now learning how to treat one another with honor. Chapter 22, Protecting Property and Protecting People. These laws emphasize 2 major responsibilities: respecting the property of others, caring for the weak. Foreigners, widows, and orphans, God reminded them, open quote, you were foreigners in Egypt. Therefore, show love to the foreigner, close quote. And he warned, open quote, if you oppress the weak and they cry out to me, I will hear, and I will defend them, close quote. The God of Israel made himself known as the defender of the oppressed. Chapter 23, Justice, Festivals, and the Promise of the Land. God taught his people, do not lie or give false testimony. Do not show favoritism to the rich or the poor. Help even your enemy when they are in trouble. Then he appointed 3 great festivals each year: Feast of Unleavened Bread, celebrating freedom; Feast of Harvest, thanking God for provision; Feast of Ingathering, honoring God for blessings all year. And God made a powerful promise. Open quote, I will send my angel before you and bring you into the land I have promised. Close quote. Yet he added a condition. Open quote, listen to my voice and obey my commands. Close quote. Freedom comes with faithful obedience. Chapter 24, The Covenant Sealed with Blood. Moses wrote down all the words the Lord had spoken. The people responded together. Open quote, we will obey everything the Lord has said. Close quote. A sacred covenant was established. An altar was built at the mountain's foot. Blood of sacrifices was sprinkled on the altar and on the people. Open quote, this is the blood of the covenant between God and his people. Close quote. Then Moses, Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and 70 elders saw the glory of God. They even ate and drank in his presence, a holy moment of fellowship with the King of Heaven. Afterward, Moses ascended the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights to receive the tablets engraved by God's own hand. The mountain burned with holy fire. Chapter 25, Build me a sanctuary, God dwelling among his people. From within the blazing mountain, God commanded, open quote, build me a sanctuary so that I may dwell among my people. Close quote. The people were invited to offer precious gifts: gold, silver, bronze, fine fabrics and animal skins, fragrant spices and precious stones. God gave detailed designs for the Ark of the Covenant, his throne among them, the table of the bread of presence, symbol of his provision, the golden lampstand, the light of God shining forever. A God of infinite power chose to dwell with humanity, not in palaces of kings, but in the midst of his chosen people. Chapters 26-30, A Holy Dwelling for a Holy God. Chapter 26, The Tabernacle, God's heavenly design on earth. God continued revealing detailed instructions to Moses. A sacred tent, the tabernacle, where God would dwell among his people. It was crafted with curtains of fine linen, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, gold-plated frames forming its structure, inner curtains embroidered with cherubim, a thick curtain, the veil separated, the holy place, the most holy place, where God's presence would dwell. This earthly sanctuary reflected the glory of heaven. God was teaching them, he is near yet holy. Chapter 27, The bronze altar and the courtyard. In front of the tabernacle stood the bronze altar, a place of sacrifice. Blood would be shed so that the people could draw near to God. The courtyard was enclosed by linen hangings, separating God's holy dwelling from the common world. God commanded, open quote, keep the lamp burning continually, close quote, a flame that never dies, symbolizing his presence in the faith of his people. Chapter 28, priests set apart, holy garments for holy service. God chose Aaron and his sons to serve as priests. They would stand between God and the people. Their garments displayed sacred beauty, breastplate with 12 precious stones, one for each tribe of Israel, ephod and robe woven with heavenly colors, turban with a golden plate engraved, open quote, holy to the Lord, close quote. Even the clothing preached a message, open quote, those who serve before God must be holy, close quote. Consecration. Dedicated to God forever, God established a 7-day ceremony to set the priests apart for sacred service. Washing with water, cleansing, anointing with oil, empowerment. Blood on ear, thumb, and toe, symbolizing holy obedience, work, and walk. Daily sacrifices were required, a lamb each morning, a lamb each evening. God made a powerful promise, open quote, I will dwell among the Israelites, I will be their God, close quote. The creator of the universe desired a relationship with humanity. Chapter 30, the altar of incense, prayer rising to heaven. Inside the holy place stood a special altar, overlaid with pure gold. Each morning and evening, sweet incense was burned upon it, symbolizing prayer. God also instructed, atonement money, reminding them they belonged to God. A bronze basin for cleansing hands and feet, sacred anointing oil and incense, reserved only for God's house. Everything was designed to teach this truth, open quote, approach God with reverence, for he is holy, close quote. Chapters 31 to 35, Golden Rebellion and the God who forgives. God's Spirit empowers his workers. God chose 2 skilled men, Bezalel, filled with the Spirit of God, Oholiab, gifted to teach and create. They were to craft everything for the tabernacle with excellence, because God deserves the best. God also reminded Moses, open quote, the Sabbath is holy, rest for you are my people, close quote, a sacred sign that they belonged to him. Chapter 32, the golden calf, a tragic betrayal. While Moses was on the mountain, the people grew impatient. Open quote, make us a god to lead us, close quote. Aaron took their gold earrings and shaped a golden calf. The people shouted, open quote, this is our God who brought us out of Egypt, close quote. They celebrated wildly around the idol. Sin replaced worship. God told Moses, open quote, they have turned away quickly, close quote. Moses descended, carrying the stone tablets written by the very hand of God. Anger burned within him. He shattered the tablets at the foot of the mountain. The idol was ground into powder and scattered on water. Many died because of their rebellion. But Moses stood in the gap. Open quote, Lord, please forgive them, or erase my name with theirs. Close quote. A leader willing to sacrifice himself for the sake of his people. Chapter 33, God's presence. The greatest treasure because of their sin, God said, open quote, I will send an angel before you, but I will not go with you, for you are a stiff-necked people. Close quote. The people mourned. They knew the truth. Without God's presence, they were nothing. Moses pleaded, open quote, if your presence does not go with us, we will not move from here. Close quote. God answered, open quote, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Close quote. Then Moses dared to ask, open quote, show me your glory, close quote. God protected him in the cleft of a rock and revealed his goodness, but his full glory remained too holy to see. Chapter 34, New Tablets, a covenant restored. God told Moses to carve 2 new stone tablets. He proclaimed his name, open quote, the Lord, merciful and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in love, close quote. Moses bowed low in worship. God renewed the covenant, no idols. Keep the feasts, remember the Sabbath. Even after terrible betrayal, God remained faithful. When Moses came down the mountain this time, his face shone with radiant glory, evidence that he had been with God. Chapter 35, a willing people, generosity for God's house. Moses called the people to bring offerings for the building of the tabernacle. Gold, silver, bronze, fine linens, precious stones, everything needed for God's dwelling. And the people responded with joy. Open quote, everyone whose heart was willing brought gifts, close quote. Bezalel and Oholiab began the sacred work. Creativity and craftsmanship became worship. A community transformed, from idol makers to temple builders, From rebellion to obedience, from fear to delight in God. Chapter 36. Building the dwelling place of God. God fills Bezalel, Oholiab, and the craftsmen with wisdom and skill. Every piece of the tabernacle is made with precision and worship in their hearts. The people keep bringing offerings, gold, silver, precious cloth, so much that Moses must announce, open quote, no more offerings, you have brought more than enough, close quote. The curtains, the boards, the coverings, layer upon layer, symbolize a holy space where God will dwell among them. Obedience becomes worship. Every stitch is an act of love for the Lord. Chapter 37. The Ark, the lampstand, and holy furniture. Bezalel crafts the Ark of the Covenant from acacia wood, overlaid with pure gold, the place where God's mercy will meet his people. 2 cherubim spread their wings over the mercy seat, guarding the invisible throne of the Almighty. He builds the table of the bread of presence, the gold lampstand, shaped like a blooming almond tree, the altar of incense, for prayer, rising like fragrance. Everything is made exactly as God commanded, because worship is not casual, it is holy. Chapter 38. The bronze altar in the courtyard. The altar of burnt offering is built, strong in bronze, where sacrifice restores people to God. The bronze basin is made from the polished mirrors of the women, reflections once for beauty, now reflecting cleansing and holiness. The courtyard is completed, a place where every Israelite can come to worship. A careful record is kept of the gold, silver, and bronze. Every gift matters. Every heart that gives is remembered. Chapter 39. Garments of glory for the priests. The craftsmen create the holy garments, a golden plate holy to the Lord, a breastpiece with 12 precious stones, one for each tribe, robes of blue and purple, bells and pomegranates ringing with every step. When the high priest enters God's presence, he carries the names of Israel over his heart. Moses inspects all the work. Open quote, just as the Lord commanded, close quote, and he blesses the people. Faithful work brings God's blessing. Chapter 40. God's glory fills the tabernacle. On the first day of the new year, Moses sets up the tabernacle piece by piece, anointing every item, every priest, every space. Then the glory of the Lord descends. A holy cloud fills the tabernacle. Moses cannot even enter. God's presence is overwhelming. From now on, if the cloud rises, Israel moves. If it stays, Israel waits. The Lord himself becomes their guide. Open quote, they are no longer slaves. They are God's people, with God dwelling among them. Close quote. The story of Exodus ends not with fear or wandering, but with God leading his children forward.